Hello, this is Yayoi Komiyama from Brain to Belly, and welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So today I have my special friend and guest, Eric Stenlake from the Empowered Family Networks on Facebook and Energetic Life Now coaching business. So, Eric, hi, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, Yoi?
I'm just excited that you're here on the show. And
Yay.
it's been a while since I just had you only, right? So, this is great. And I just wanted to invite Eric today because we've been working on some projects together.
Mhm.
And we wanted to talk about that, but also just in general about this time of year, which is October. We're closing in on towards the end of the year. And as soon as Halloween starts, it's going to be very fast going. So we want to talk about end of year and how you want to wrap up 2024. Wow. It's kind of sad to say that, but this year went by so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. And a lot of things went super fast and I feel a lot of things went slow. I don't know why. It's just yeah, it's I'm ready to jump into 25.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying thrive in 25 because I've seen it all over the place. I was looking on I think MSN or something, and somebody was saying thrive in 25, and I'm like, everyone's using that. And I'm like, well, they do rhyme.
Yeah.
and and I think but you don't have to wait until 2025 to start anything. And I think that's what I wanted to talk about today is that, like Tony Robbins says, when is the best time? Well, even our mentor Joseph says, when's the best time to, plant a tree?
Yeah. 20
And
years
oh,
ago.
yep,
And
if
the
you can
second best time to plant one is
now,
today.
yep, right now. And I think a lot of that can be something to think on, especially at this time of the year, because you know once Halloween, like I said, once Halloween comes by, you're gonna be, all of us are crazed in what we do
Yeah.
because we're thinking, oh, Halloween, okay, we got to get rid of the candy for one thing, right?
Yeah, get it out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I know, like, when I was going into the office for years, day after Halloween, if you went into the pantry, you would find bags and bags of candy because nobody wanted to keep it in their home.
right, right.
But the problem was it's in the office. So if you went into the pantry, yeah, you're like, oh, there's my favorite treat. There's
Ah,
my favorite treat. Oh, maybe I'll have this. I haven't had this in a while, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, and I love what we do around here in Southern California. We have the local dentistry network that if you bring your candy to a dentist the following day, you'll get a prize or something that they'll do, and then they take all the candy and they donate it to Camp Pendleton military base, which is right here uh, at our back door, if you will.
Oh,
And so they donated to all the troops, and of course those guys and gals, love it. The fresh recruits, and they'll pass it all around, and those guys love it, and so that's a great
wow.
win-win right there.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
idea. I wish our dentist did that. But, well, in New York, probably people don't trust people that much. So I was just thinking. But yeah, I know that, like, I do. Um, Everyone already knows this. I do Weight Watcher meetings and or workshops, and we always talk about the Halloween candy.
Yeah,
And a lot of us say, if we don't have kids, we're not going to buy any, even if it's so tempting. And especially after Halloween, when the prices go down, we're like, no, 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 we don't buy it. If we do, it's danger.
that's right. That's right. Get the half price bags, and a couple weeks later, you go back, and it'll be mid-November, and the Valentine candy will be out in mid-November, and the Halloween candy will be 75% off, and it's so tempting just to buy.
Yep. It's like after Easter, you know how all the peeps are on sale.
Right, right. Yeah, no. And listen, I can't even eat that stuff anymore.
No, me
It's like
neither.
Reese's peanut butter cups, man, that was my thing. And I would grab them all from the kids. I would literally would buy them off my kids. Hey dad, you want to buy these Reese's peanut butter cups? $5, $5. I'm like, you guys snaking me for peanut butter cups. But then I would put them in a big bag and stick them in the back of the freezer behind
Wow.
something, and then I would have frozen Reese's for like months.
Well, those are actually good.
But
I
I
mean,
don't
I was a Reese's girl too, so I totally get it.
I can't eat it anymore. It hurts. My body just inflames, and I
Wow.
get migraines, and I can't do that stuff anymore.
I've I've noticed that my tastes have changed as well.
Yeah.
And I used to, like I said, I used to be totally Reese's girl, and I would be like, if I saw Reese's, I would grab it immediately and go for it. But the thing is, like you said, it triggers the migraines for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
And well, I think it's all the, I know the reason, it's the chemicals in it.
Yeah. For sure.
And so I can't eat it. And I've noticed that it doesn't taste as good anymore because my taste buds have
Yeah.
changed over time as well.
Mm-hmm.
I could taste the artificial
Yep.
flavorings, and it's not as delicious as I thought it was because I took a taste of it thinking, oh, yeah, it's a Reese's. I haven't had that in ages. Let me have one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ah, it doesn't taste as good as I thought it did.
No. Yeah.
And
Now give me a bar of dark chocolate at like 80%, you know,
oh, yeah,
I am so there, and I'll take a little square or two a day, and that's good for us. So
yeah,
I'm totally down for that. A little square a day, like, oh, that is such a great way to have a little treat.
yeah. And a little chocolate is not bad for you at
Right.
all. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's the real chocolate, not
Mm-hmm.
the processed
Right.
stuff,
Right.
it's actually not bad for you at all. And I
Yeah.
think we tend to forget that, and we start to demonize, like, sugar and carbohydrates are like the top demons right now in the health world or whatever.
Sure.
And, people say, oh, no carbs, no sugar. But I think it's no to the processed things.
Right.
But if it's, carbohydrates, your body needs
Mhm.
carbohydrates, the
Yeah.
good carbohydrates. And because it's a natural part of our system, it's natural in nature. So whatever you can get in nature is something that you could really, your body can process. Whereas all the fake stuff, we tend to forget that our bodies never knew that these chemicals are supposed to be there. So our bodies don't know how to process it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what happens, like in your case as well, is that it starts accumulating in our bodies. And that happened to me as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because we don't know how to process it.
Right. Well, and how interesting it is that the rest of the world has, banned a lot of these, products from their foods
Yes.
in their countries, but yet here in the U.S. we're going to continue to eat them. So I am excited for California they're banning a couple of things right
Yes.
off the bat here,
Yes.
starting in the new year. So I'm excited that those things are going to get off the shelves. because being an educator, kids, I see them eating this stuff at school, and the conversations we have is like, you understand that what you put in your body is a neurodisruptor to the circuitry in your brain, and you're sitting here and you can't concentrate, you can't focus, and you're fidgeting and exhibiting ADHD
ADHD.
behaviors in the classroom when you're not ADHD, but it's because you just ate how many bags of this and how many bags of that for your excuse me, for your lunch, and you're not putting anything healthy into your system.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I like it, Mr. S. It tastes good. Yeah, it tastes good, but now you're going to waste the rest of your afternoon and be behind in your classes, even though physically you're present, mentally you're not.
yeah. And the thing is, at that young age, if you start eating all of these things,
Yeah.
I mean, kids nowadays are starting to break out, in rashes that they shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have even been breaking out in because of all these chemicals that are starting to accumulate in their young bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe we're like at that age where we've grown our immune system a little bit to these products, right? A little bit. And we've suffered the consequences as well. Whereas, I mean, these young kids, it's like, why are we putting all these poisons into the children when their brains are still not even developed
Mm-hmm.
completely?
Yeah.
Like, we say that for women, I think their brains fully develop in their early 20s, and I think it's the late 20s for men.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know why that, but and that means that our brains aren't fully developed until we're close to 30
Yeah.
in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And we're putting all of these neurodisruptors into our bodies, which affects our brain, which is our CP unit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as I call it.
100%.
And I love doing the analogy with the computer because it's really easy for people to understand when you say that.
Yeah.
And if you're feeding bad data into the CPU, or you're putting stuff in it which doesn't even belong in there, your computer is not going to function
That's right.
properly.
That's
Then you
right.
can have all those bugs, right?
That's right. That's right. And then not to mention if you're somebody like me who has autoimmune concerns. I mean, I'm all right. I'm going to date myself now, but going back to the late 70s, if you will, um, my doctor, pediatrician, had recommended that I not eat things with artificial flavorings and colorings and stay away from certain chemicals used in packaging material, which is actually BHT is one of the ones that's on the chopping block here in California.
Oh, that's
They're going to
great.
get rid of that because all of the cereal bags are coated with BHT for preserving freshness, and it's a very, very harmful chemical. So going back to my early childhood, I had to stay away from those things because of what would happen to me cognitively, and not being able to concentrate and having a ton of energy. And the only way for me to get that out was just literally to do physical exercise, strenuous, to
Yeah.
burn it out of the system. And I learned that when I put those things in, I needed at least 3 days for my body to process it out.
Yeah.
And that's tough for a kid.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, first of all, children shouldn't have to experience all these ailments, right?
Right.
They shouldn't have to have these extreme cases where they can't be children.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know as adults, that there's so many things that we don't want to be adults with, right? And it's like that Toys R Us commercial. I don't want to grow up, and
Absolutely.
okay, I dated myself with that one
Right
too.
there, and people are like, wow, what's that? What's Toys R Us? Is it what is that place there? Yeah, and of course, we're both now singing the jingle in our heads because you can't say Toys R Us without hearing it.
Yeah, but it's you know as adults we've grown into this society and we've learned how to maneuver ourselves away from certain foods.
Mhm.
We know where to be, what to be aware of, and what to avoid. However, for children, they don't know. And of course, something that tastes good is going to be something that they're going to want.
Yeah.
And the food manufacturers know that. I
Mhm.
mean, and of course, we know the marketing trick that the manufacturers use for kids because they know that if they put like the bright cereals, the bright colors in the lower shelves, the kids are going to grab it.
Right. Yeah, I was listening to a documentary or a podcast or something not too long ago, and it was on this topic in terms of what the manufacturers have done here in the U.S.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting to me because it comes from the same manufacturers that had the cigarettes.
Yes.
And as the shift away from that, because it was bad and causing cancer and all these other health problems, they switched that focus into, okay, well, how can we get people addicted to foods and chemicals and different things, and keep that revolving cycle between what you're consuming, putting into your body, and the health industry, and let's continue to focus on making people sick. And this is not a conspiracy theory. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, this is such a conspiracy theory. No, 100% it is not. And looking at what happened, and then we went into the whole food pyramid in the 80s
Yes.
and the low fat dieting, and you know this from
Yeah.
what you do, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
people out there, like maybe you like, oh my gosh, I remember people just buying up boxes and boxes and boxes of cookies
I
be-
remember those
because
cookies.
they were low
No,
fat. Oh, low fat.
no, no, or no fat,
Or
remember?
no fat, no
Yeah.
fat. I'm gonna eat, and the carbohydrate and the sugar intake levels were through the roof, and people are going, "I'm eating low fat. Why can't I lose weight?" Well, you're putting garbage into your system, into your CPU unit. You're
Yep.
you're you're damaging yourself, and then we see what go on the rise: diabetes,
Yes.
heart issues. All of these things happen because of the focus, and we bought into that lie, hook, line, and sinker, that we had to eat low fat
Yeah.
or no fat,
And
not
that's
understanding that our brains need the
fat.
fats,
Exactly.
the good fats,
Yes.
to function at its optimal
Right.
human performance.
And if you think about it, it's like oil, right? When you have to oil like machinery, you have
Yeah,
to, like in the olden days,
sure.
olden days. Like I
The tin
remember,
man. Oink, 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 oink.
yeah, you remember those things
Yes.
that you had to oil the oh God, like the sewing machines.
Yeah.
I remember my mom, gosh, this was ages ago, had those old sewing machines that you had to use a foot pedal to go like
Yeah.
you had to go like this to the foot pedal to have it work. And I remember we had to oil it occasionally for
Uh-huh.
it to work. And it's like that. Our bodies need good oils. Now, if
Mhm.
you put like the wrong oil on something, it's not going to work as properly.
Yeah.
So it's that same concept. Like even for your car, you have to put the right oil into your
True.
car, or else it's not going to function as optimally as it's supposed to. And I think we tend to forget that. And it's like all this common knowledge or common sense things we kind of abandon because media and the food industry and even doctors tell us, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that. Or, it's really, well, the marketing, right?
Right.
But, and we forget to actually read labels
Mhm.
or actually use our common sense and say, well, okay, it makes sense that you oil something that's working. And sometimes you need that oil and that lubrication to make things flow within the body as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, our water intake, how we always say that, you should have about, well, they say that it's good for our bodies to have like 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And for each person, it's slightly different, which is, because one size doesn't fit all. But you should be aware of when you're thirsty and when you're not, and to And it makes sense, like first thing in the morning, our mentor says, leave a glass of water by your bedstand because if you think about it, after 6 hours or 8 hours of sleeping, you're dehydrated. Your whole body is dehydrated.
Yeah.
And you may not think you're moving around in your sleep, but your body is still working
Mm-hmm.
while you're sleeping. Your mind is not sleeping, is away somewhere, but your
Yeah.
body is still functioning in one way or another, even in sleep.
Yeah.
It's resting, but it's still functioning. So it's like, gosh, I don't know if there's a computer analogy for that. Well, when your computer goes to sleep, right?
Yeah.
It does go into sleep mode sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's resting. It's not
Yeah.
putting all of the things out there. It's not functioning fully, but it's still in that rest mode where it gets a little rest so that it could charge up when you go back in and use it.
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
think it's the same analogy can be used for the human body.
Mm-hmm.
And lubricating it with water and oils are important for it to function properly.
Yeah.
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 And
Absolutely, and 100%. And now I wanted to go back to a couple things
sure.
that you said. You said reading labels and the importance of that. That's huge. That's huge. And knowing what it is that I should and shouldn't be consuming, that's an education process. Understanding that, because I could look at a label and see, oh, it's got, sunflower oil, safflower oil, vegetable oil, all these things that are in it, thinking, oh, well, that's okay. I cook with vegetable oil, or I cook with this, not understanding that it's bad for our systems. We were not created to intake these oils,
Yeah.
and switching them out for something like like we use a high heat avocado oil to cook
Yes.
with, and not a vegetable oil.
Right.
Those things were created
Yes.
to be cheaper for restaurants and consumers, right? Again, the industry created this and said, how can we cut costs and add more to the consumer? It'll be cheaper for us to produce it,
Yes.
not understanding at the time yet what those oils do to us and our systems,
Yeah.
and understanding that they cause major inflammation
Yeah.
within the body systems,
Yep.
and how that's going to show up for each of us is different. So it is so true that you said that, is keeping an eye um, on the labels of what we read, because I could take this bag of potato chips and this bag of potato chips and be like, holy smokes. I mean, you look at a regular bag of potato chips, and all, like, they'll have 3 or 4 different oils
Yes.
that are inflammatory oils in them that are not needed. They're
Yeah.
not needed in the cooking process or whatever, but they're added in there, right? As you know, and I'll be straight. I try not to, but I do eat chips occasionally,
Me too.
and I go for, I think it's the brand Boulder, like Boulder, Colorado. I
Yes.
think is where it
Mm-hmm.
comes from, and their chips, they've got potatoes, salt, avocado oil,
Well, yep.
and that's it. That's all you need to make a chip. You
Yeah.
don't need a list of ingredients like this
No.
with
And
preservatives and
exactly.
inflammatory oils.
And when you make chips at home, I mean, I remember when I got my air fryer the first time, I was like, I
Oh,
love the air fryer because I
so much
love
better.
fries, right? And fries are kind of like one of my indulgences with chocolate.
Yeah,
Not together, um, but instead of eating fries like from the supermarket or from fast food or from the deli, I said, let me start making it because it's healthier with the air fryer. And all you have to do is really very simple. All you need is a potato and some good healthy oil, even just a little bit just to get it there. And then salt it or whatever you want to put on it. And that's all it needs. And in the air fryer, you're not frying it. You're just kind of like baking it in a way, but it turns out crispy and it's just as good.
I think it's better because I'll take that potato on the side and I'll cut slices like that and then put them in there. I'll put a little bit of avocado oil on it, some sea salt, and then sprinkle some cheese on it and bake it in there. Oh my gosh, absolutely delicious.
I love it. I mean, I
Yeah,
can eat like a couple of potatoes like that.
easily,
And
easily.
and then, you start thinking, well, it's not really bad for you because
Mm-mm.
and they're really, I mean, bad and good foods, we should probably try to get away from saying that, but
Right.
harmful foods and foods that are going to be beneficial for your health are
Yeah.
different. And it doesn't beneficial foods don't have to taste bad.
Right.
And I think we forget that. And I think like we always say, after the first couple bites, you're not really tasting the food. And I would just try to be aware of that, like when you're eating,
Hmm.
anyone that's listening, maybe, you know, taste your food the first couple times you realize it, and then start thinking, am I actually tasting it after 4 or 5 bites? Because our brains go into auto drive and we're not really connecting the taste sensations to the brain anymore. And
Yeah.
it's almost like a manual thing that we're doing unconsciously.
Hmm.
So when we start tasting it, you might realize that you're full sooner than you think.
That's right.
And
That's right.
or it might not taste as good as you thought it did
Hmm.
because a lot of taste is memory as well,
Right.
like the Reese's story that we were talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah, or what else did I eat recently that well, no, the Reese's was the one thing that I was, like, really shocked about because I was like, "I thought it tasted better." Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we were saying, hey, we're coming up on the holiday times. Like the ribbon candy and the tins of
Oh,
hard candies from the days of Christmas old, right? And now I go back to it. I'm like, I can't eat this stuff anymore.
true.
It's hard. It's hard for me to do that because it's just my acquired tastes and understanding of if I eat that high sugar, consumption of that candy, I'm going to pay for it later.
Yeah.
And you know, I
And
might have a little taste of something here or there, but yeah.
and I think it's also we're coming up into the holiday season, which is like also Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And, when I think Thanksgiving, I always think pies because I love, and I used to, when I used to be married, my, my sister-in-law's mother would bake all these. Oh, she's a master baker and pie maker, and she would bake about 4 or 5 different pies
Yeah.
every year for Thanksgiving. And they would be the savory as well as the sweet ones. And oh my God, they were so good.
Yeah.
And I remember I don't care much for turkey. So I was like, okay, I will just have little slices of the pie. And they're made from scratch. So they
Yeah.
are absolutely yummy.
Yeah.
And, those are things that I cherish and I love because they're also very good because they're made from scratch. They're not made from
Mhm.
pre-made or anything like that. And I think we have to also be careful of, thinking about what is going into the pre-made stuff.
Right.
And also, if that's something that you love to eat, that's okay. You can have
Mhm.
a little bit of it, but don't make that your whole meal.
Right.
And and I mean, hello, because hey, you and I'm sure I've done it where
Yeah.
I've done the whole, okay, I'm going to make the pie the whole meal instead of, I've done that. Or I've done the, wear sweatpants to Thanksgiving dinner because you want to be able to eat a lot.
Yep. Yep.
And eating eating a lot is okay sometimes, very rarely, but, you know, and Thanksgiving is a time for celebration with
Yeah.
family. And
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that we have to take into consideration is that meals and family time is important. And
Mhm.
Thanksgiving is a time where we share a meal together, but it's not an overindulgence time.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes old habits do kick in and old family dynamics do kick in, and you might be like, okay, I just want to eat and not listen to this conversation, right? I'm getting real here.
Yeah, totally.
And, I understand that, but also be careful in how you handle that. And maybe this year you might want to think differently.
Mhm.
Um, if you know that so and so is going to be always the Debbie Downer, or that's always going to be talking about all these depressing things and never saying anything positive, just try to tune it out
Mhm.
or excuse yourself if you can, or if you can just switch the conversation, be a master conversationalist and switch the subject.
Yeah.
Um, there are many techniques that you can use, and it's exhausting a little bit, but you know what? Com- weigh it out. Also, is that all that toxicity going to be good for you or not? And
Right.
maybe make this Thanksgiving maybe a little different, you
Yeah.
know. And it's your life, it's your
Mhm.
time. And sometimes, yes, we do have to give in to others and compromise, but you don't need to be compromising 100%.
Mhm. Mhm.
Compromise means to meet halfway. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good points. Good points. Yeah, there's nothing worse than getting together for a holiday or something and have it go off rails because it's you're dealing with family dynamics and around certain issues and yeah, so
yeah,
best to put some
boundaries.
parameters on that and say this is here's a topic or two we're not going to be bringing up at Thanksgiving this year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you can make healthy rules. I know that, like, some of the rules that, I mean, I had, at some certain Thanksgiving was no talking about politics
Uh-huh.
and no talking about religion.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthy, especially in a tense environment like family,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like I said, there are old family dynamics that go into play,
Mm-hmm.
and we revert back unless you're conscious of it. We revert back to that behavior,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I think we need to be a little more cognizant of things in that time. I mean, it's not easy,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving just because I'm gonna smoke at least two turkeys and
Wow.
because I am a turkey junkie.
Oh, wow.
I'm like the dad from Christmas Story, and just I'm out there and I'm carving off little pieces as I'm
Wow.
smoking it all day. Just I'm testing it. I'm testing it to see if it's done because here's what we end up doing in our family is we've got all of the containers and so what everybody does is when the meal is over and we're beginning to do that cleanup,
Yes.
everybody goes back into the kitchen and prepares themselves take home and they do that. And of course, I've got my kids that don't all live at home and they're off in college and doing things, and so they'll make their own meals and so they get to have their own little take home, and so that'll pretty much wipe everything out, and except for this smart guy right here because he knows he has another turkey that's smoked
For himself.
that is for me himself is going to be all over that smoked turkey
Wow.
for the next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somehow smoked turkey sounds really good.
Oh,
Like I said, I'm not much of a turkey
yeah.
eater,
Yeah.
and I don't really, I'm not much of a meat eater unless it's like
Oh,
really, really good meat. Okay, I'm very picky,
yeah.
and yeah, maybe I just haven't had really, really good turkey, and that's why I'm not much of a turkey
That could
eater.
be. That could be. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll go now. I'll spend a little bit extra to get the organic turkey, and and it's just absolutely, absolutely phenomenal.
That's
And
right.
I do it where I cut out the breastbone and take it and open it and flat out in the pan,
Uh-huh.
and then I will dump in chicken stock within that, so it not only is it smoked, but it's cooking in that chicken stock. You got
Wow.
all the things in all the
Mm.
fresh herbs and things that are all in the pan cooking with the turkey as it's
Wow.
smoking, and it'll take probably a good 6 hours
Wow.
to smoke. And
Wow. That sounds
oh
good.
man, I can't wait.
Huh. But
My mouth is watering right now.
but I remember one year when I was with my relatives, my sister-in-law, she went and got a live turkey. I mean,
Mm.
a live turkey. And I mean, of course, she bought it from a live turkey farm and she got it back killed, but it was, yeah. But I remember my nephew and my brother-in-law, they were trying to, figure out how to do it so that it was properly done. And that turkey was actually very good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think maybe years of, yeah, store-bought and those probably turned me off to turkey, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Because I know that when meat is any type of meat or poultry is cooked properly and in a healthy way, like,
Hmm.
when it's fresh, you don't have that stinky poultry smell or
Yeah.
that meat smell. And I think we forget that because we're so used to the the meat and the poultry and the fish that we get in the supermarkets. And when you've actually had fresh meat or
Hmm.
fresh fish, you know, it's different.
Hmm.
And it really tastes different than what you're used to. And I think that also is something that we forget because we're so used to what's out there, what's commercially available.
Hmm.
And we forget taste, the real taste of certain foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And of course, why are we we're always talking about food,
I,
but
it's one of my favorite topics because I love to consume it.
me too, me too. I mean, I'm a foodie, of course, and
Heck yeah.
I I know my desserts really well, and I know
Oh,
my chocolates well, and yeah, and the thing is, I like good food, and
mhm,
it's okay to spoil. And I'm not feeling guilty about this anymore because I used to feel guilty about liking good food or expensive things. But the reason that they are a little expensive is because they're better for you
right.
sometimes, or they're fresh.
Mhm, mm,
And, you know, it's sad that in this country, well, all over the world, that you have to pay a little extra to get the healthier versions of things or the tastier version of things because
yeah.
what's mass produced is not necessarily the healthiest thing because like you were saying to your point about I think what was it that you were saying that they were producing things and they were mass producing the oils.
Mhm,
Yeah, and I think that's with anything, right? That's mass produced for the convenience of the manufacturer,
right.
or the intent was originally good that it was going to help people. Like in the 50s, nobody knew that vegetable oil was bad for you. They thought this is good. This is going to be easier for us to cook meals and things like that. And the intent was good,
Mhm,
but we didn't know the repercussions that it would have on the human body.
right. Right. Especially once we started adding to the toxic
Yes,
chemicals
yes,
to the food
yeah.
in the glyphosates, and in the sake of, hey, we're gonna help the crops grow, and
Yeah.
so we're gonna spray all these pesticides on them and destroy the food. And yeah, so that's why it's bad. That's why it's bad. Is
Well, I
because
mean, if it's killing the insects, what is it doing to our bodies?
sure. Well,
Because
it's
the plants or whatever have the same insecticide on it.
hmm yep.
So you have to think about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why I got sick and have had a lot of gut issues and things of that nature, and went through years of testing until they figured out that it was, I'm now gluten, dairy, egg, corn, and grain free.
Wow.
And because my gut biomes were destroyed, and I have to every day consciously watch what I'm eating to keep building and maintaining a healthy gut biome,
Yeah.
because what was destroyed in the lining of my stomach and intestines and everything from the glyphosate.
Yeah.
And so um, that is my focus in terms of foods,
Yeah.
because what I am consuming in the belly is going straight to the brain.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so that affects everything that I do, and is why I get brain fog and migraines and different things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, food is definitely an important part of our health and our
Yeah. Hmm.
brain health. And another thing that is important is the way we think about things.
Yeah.
And, this is all tied in.
Hmm.
And negative thoughts also affect how our bodies function and how our brains don't know what's true or false.
Yeah.
So the negative thoughts, they're going to think that, the brain's going to think, oh, wait, you're talking negative, but they don't know it's negative. They think that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, things like that is also something that we need to take into consideration. There's a lot to take into consideration, but, once you start learning these things, and you're hearing it more than enough from me, I'm sure. Um, but when you hear it, it goes in, and you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe that was a negative thought. Maybe
Hmm.
I could do something about that.
Right.
And you can. And I think that's another thing that we have to be aware of is the negative thoughts that are always rattling
Mhm.
around in here.
Yeah.
And we're bombarded with them.
Sure.
Marketers are always using the negative attacks on us to kind of make us feel guilty about not doing something or buying something. And those are tactics that marketers use. And we have to be, I always say this, but buyer beware. I mean, I've
Hmm.
been fooled a lot of times too,
Yep.
and then I'm like, feel shame about that too.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I don't want to tell people that I got fooled.
Right. Well, and you're so right on a gazillion things that you just said there, Yayoi, because I think the one of the marketing words that we're so used to is the word comfort,
Yes,
and a comfort food. So when we have, going back to what the negative is, we feel that we're in stress and overwhelmed, we're tired, we go for a comfort
for food.
food, which is typically something that's going to be a high carb or a high sugar,
Yeah,
or something of that nature. And we go, and we got this comfort food, and this is my go-to snack. I'm just going to have a little bit, and then I eat more, and I eat more, and I eat more, because it's psychologically comforting. And then I go, why am I feeling so bad?
yeah,
Why am I physically and mentally feeling so bad? Because what I put in.
yeah.
And so the ideology that you and I have studied under with Dr. Daniel Amen is,
Yes,
I have two choices. I can put something in my body that's going to help me, heal me, or is going to hurt
hurt
me,
me. Yes,
and being really aware of that. So I get into that stress and overwhelm, fear, worry, doubt. All these things are rattling around, the automatic negative thoughts.
yes, the ants.
I'm going to reach for things like a plate of vegetables or fruit,
Yes,
or a piece of that dark
yes,
chocolate, or
yes,
something of that nature,
yeah,
rather than going for something that I know is going to hurt me.
yeah,
And what happens is, as soon as I consume that, boom, I'm feeling better.
yeah. And it's so true. I mean, if you don't believe us, try it with yourself.
Hmm.
And Dr. Amen says, eat the rainbow. And we're not talking Skittles rainbow. We're talking real rainbow, you know? And because every time I say eat the rainbow, I always think of Skittles, right?
Skittles.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. Those colors, they're
Hmm.
like insane colors, right? All
Yeah.
those dyes
Yeah.
going into your body. And sometimes you think, what am I putting into my body? And you start thinking, would I put that in a baby's body?
Mm-mm.
No. And I think I tell this story all the time, but like I stopped feeding my dog baby carrots because she loved baby carrots. And but they're preserved in
Yeah.
certain liquids that are not exactly, if you actually take a smell it, you could kind of smell it.
Yeah.
And the, the ammonia or the chlorine, they're bleached as well.
Hmm.
And all of that. I mean, like, why would I feed my baby bleach?
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's things like that. So, but like we were saying about the negative thoughts again, we have to be aware of these toxic things that are in our heads. And like you were saying, Dr. Daniel Amen talks about the automatic negative thoughts, which are ants, called ants. And they're like the picnic ants that
Yeah.
crawl all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're in
Hey,
our
you know
mind.
what? I was just thinking we should do like something together where we teach the automatic negative thoughts to
Yes.
people. What do
Yes.
you think, Yayoi? Should we do something like that?
Well, actually, we are doing something like that.
We
And
are?
yeah.
Do tell.
Well, we actually, Eric and I did a free webinar last week, last Thursday, and you could find it in our Facebook groups. And you can also find it in our personal Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I think TikTok. I think we put it, both of us put it in all of our things. And it was an introduction to what's called ants and the automatic negative thoughts. And we're also starting a new master class starting this Thursday, and it's called Mind Your Rules. Identify and eradicate the ants, the automatic negative thoughts, sabotaging your success and happiness. And we are doing that starting this Thursday, and we are doing it at an introductory price of $99, where normally we charge $4.99.
Yeah.
And we have that up in our websites and on our, actually in our Facebook group. So we are teaching this more in detail. We do go over all of the different ants that Dr. Amen talks about, and we go through his book actually, and we deep dive into the different types of ants that are out there.
Yeah.
And they are very common ants. And, like, for instance, the all or nothing ant that we're all very familiar with. And we will talk about the less than ant. We will talk about the shaming ant, the
Mhm.
blaming ant, who blames everything on everyone else, doesn't take responsibility. We talk about all these ants, and we are doing a deep dive into that. So if you're interested, please reach out to us and let us know, because we think it can be very, very beneficial to anyone, really, and
Absolutely.
with any issue, brain
Yeah.
to belly, any anxiety, any stress. And Eric, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, this is going to be a 6 week class. We are super excited for this, and uh, like Yoi said, we are coming out of Conquering Your Negative Thoughts by Dr. Daniel Amen. This is something that's had a profound effect on both of our lives in ensuring that we are operating within our mental capacities to its full optimal human performance, and
Yeah,
understanding and being aware of when I go to the negative, how to quickly change that and default to the positive thinking in specific situational and relational connections,
yes,
so that I can get the most out of myself, and then have that same effect with other people around me. So get into our social medias. We've got the links in there to sign up. The links for the beginning intro class that we taught. So go find that. You can
yes.
find me, Energetic Life Now, on social media, and the Empowered Family Network on Facebook. Come join my group there, and we'll kick this off together.
Yeah. And, like we said, those ants can really wreak havoc. So learn how to default to your better self, and we can help you do that. So, on that note, thank you, Eric, for being on the show today. And I look forward to doing the work masterclass with you. And so, our viewers, please reach out to us if you have any interest. And this show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out World.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.